Stony Brook After Dark. Come join us.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Stony Brook After Dark. As you can see, I am by myself tonight. I have no guests, so I apologize in advance if that's what you came here looking for. What I wanted to do here tonight was kind of take you through the process, if you have bad credit, how you can get qualified for a house. So I wanted to start off by saying, with credit. Credit is the number one thing in life. Credit is king in the United States of America. In other countries, cash is dealt everywhere for real estate. Anything that you buy south of the border, it's all cash. Here in the United States of America, credit is king. So you're going to come to me if your credit's a little banged up. And I'm going to take you through that and let you guys know exactly how we're going to fix it, what to go through, what to look for, right? So let's say you come to me with a 500 credit score, 500 to 600, right? Which is pretty not great credit at all. All right, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. You're going to come to me and we're going to pull your credit. We're going to look through it, and I'll go through it with you and tell you exactly what we need to do to get you ready to buy a house, okay? Just for some information, there are 3 credit bureaus that when the mortgage company looks at your credit, there are 3 bureaus with 3 different scores. Credit scores go from 300 to 850. So if you're in the 300s, I can help you. Maybe it depends. I'm not going to sugarcoat it again, like I said. But like I said, we'll go over everything. Most instances, I can get your credit cleaned up in 30 to 45 days and ready to buy a house. Okay. If you have collections, late payments, stuff like that. So what it looks like is we go through your credit report. I'll tell you exactly, what needs to be done, what we're going to do. Right. Then I'm going to sit down and I'm going to ask you, what are you comfortable paying each month for a mortgage? Right. Because if I can qualify you for $400,000 based on your income, that doesn't mean that you really want that payment. Okay. So once we're done going through your credit, I'm going to ask you about your employment history or your job currently. If you have a job currently, which is what you need to buy a house, you need a 2-year job history as well. Okay. Now you can have gaps in your employment, but they cannot be any longer than 6 months. Okay. So we need a 2-year job history. I need to know how much you're making per hour. If you're working 40 hours a week or you're on salary. Okay, then there's a calculation that goes into all of that. I'll ask for your pay stubs. I'm going to ask for your W-2s from the past 2 years. Again, you need to be upfront and you need to be honest, because if you're not honest, an underwriter will catch it later on in the process. So I'll pre-qualify you based on what you have as far as pay stubs. I'll calculate everything and pre-approve you. From there, once you get a pre-approval, you're going to get hooked up with a realtor. Now you can have your own. I have an array of realtors that I can refer you to, and you start shopping for houses, okay? This is all based on your credit being improved and ready to go, okay? Once you go there, you're going to go start shopping for houses based on the pre-approved amount that I gave you. Now, if I pre-approve you for, let's say I pre-approve you for $300,000, right? You could go up to that amount. It doesn't mean you need to be smack dab at $300,000. You can go 200, 210, 220, 230, 240, and upwards. Once you find a house that you like, you're going to put an offer in, okay? Once you do that, they want a deposit. Now, that deposit goes towards your closing costs, and I'm going to get into that as well. But every realtor and every seller that you put an offer in on when you go under contract, they want to see at least $1,000 deposit. Lately, I've been seeing that they want to see a $5,000 deposit, okay? Let's say that you put that offer in and the contract gets accepted. Boom. Okay. Typically, closing is 30 to 45 days from the contract date. That's when we start collecting all the items, if I haven't collected them already, which is 30 days worth of pay stubs, 2024 and 2025 W-2s. We're also going to want to see your bank statements. Now, you can also, if you have a 401k, you can cash out on that as well and have that deposited into your bank statement for your funds to close. Okay. Now, also, when you go under contract, there can be negotiations. So there's different types of loans, and I'm going to be bouncing around, so just hang tight. And again, if you have any questions, you can always call me or text me at the number below. your realtor is going to negotiate for you based on what we have already talked about. Okay. So there's different loans out there. Conventional loan, if you're a first time home buyer, you can put down as little as 3% and you can get back 3% seller's assist. What does that mean? That means that the seller is going to contribute 3% of the sales price towards your closing costs. So let's say you're buying a house and the purchase price is $200,000. At 3% seller's assist, the seller is going to cover $6,000 of your closing costs. Closing costs are anywhere between 5 and 6%, 4 to 5 to 6%, depending on your credit and your overall credit worthiness and file. 4 to 5 to 6% of the purchase price. Okay, so that helps in every little bit. If you are FHA, and this is what I suggest to people right now because of the rising interest rates, you can get up to 6% seller's assist. In many cases, I have had people just bringing in total the down payment to closing. So again, you're buying a $200,000 house, that's 3.5%. That's $7,500 down payment. I've seen people come to closing with just $7,500. Now, if you put $1,000 deposit down, that gets credited towards your closing cost. So you take that $7,500, you negate the $1,000 you already put down, you're only bringing $6,500 to closing. Okay. You have to find the house you like. You have to find the house you love. And there's certain criteria that go along with certain programs. Like FHA, there's a lot of repairs that may need to be made. The house needs to be not in perfect shape, but they're very, very safety conscious. So there needs to be hand railings on every step. Any scraping and painting outside the house, you just need to be lookout on that. And that may be part of the negotiation where you fix some of the issues for the seller. Conventional is a little bit more lenient towards those things. But again, with conventional, you're going to be paying a little bit more and the interest rates are a little higher. Unless, and then there's another program. There's many different programs you can get into. But there's certain income criteria for different programs. Okay. So I'm going to collect all the documentation from you once you go under contract and then we agree on the program and everything like that. Collect all the documentation. Once I collect all the documentation, it goes to my processor. My processor will then order a verification of employment, make sure that you're working, when you started, how much you're making an hour, or if your salary. Okay. There's then once everything is bundled together, it will go into an underwriter. Okay. The underwriter you need to think of as kind of an investigator for your file. What they're doing is they're trying to make sure that you have the ability to repay the loan for 30 years. Okay. And there's guidelines that we need to meet. That's why you hire a professional. There's many guidelines that we need to file, many laws that we need to file in order for it to pass through that. So what will happen is the underwriter will look at the file. And when you're with me, you're going to get approved. There's no doubt about that. Doing this 21 years, you're going to get approved, right? That approval is going to come with conditions. What does that mean? You're going to get an approval. Okay. On that approval, there's going to be a list of items that the underwriter still needs or wants in order to clear your file for closing. So let's say that you took out of your 401k for your purchase money for the closing costs. They're going to want to see a copy of your 401k statement. They're going to want to see a copy of the check or the wire going into your account. And they're also going to want to see your 401k after you had that wire or that deposit into your account to make sure that you did get it from there. Okay. They could ask for if you're a non-permanent resident or you're a permanent resident, you have different identification. They're going to want to see your green card. Again, they're an investigator. They're going to want to see every single aspect of everything. Let's say that you weren't on the job for 2 years and you have a job a year at one place and you have a year at another place. They're going to need to get verifications of employment for each one of those jobs. Now, mostly everything now is electronic, but there are some instances where we need to fax it, like it's the 1950s. We need to fax it away and get someone to fill it out for us. There's a litany of things that could come up in the underwriting process. That's what they're there for. They're there to investigate. They're there to make sure and see that you can make this mortgage payment every single month. What credit scores do they look for? Typically, they want you to be above 640. 640 is kind of the sweet spot. Anything under 640, they're kind of gonna most likely ask to see reserves. What are reserves? So let's say that your closing costs are $10,000. Let's say it's $10,000 that you need to bring to closing. Reserves are mortgage payments on top of the closing money that you have in the bank. So let's say your mortgage payment's $2,000 and they want to see 3 months worth of reserves. So that $10,000 that you have for closing, that's great. They want to see an additional $6,000 somewhere. That is the reserves. Okay. And again, that's typically for anyone under 640. And depending on your debt to income ratio. How do we get to your debt to income ratio? Glad you asked. We take your income, right? We come with the hourly, it's a calculation, and your salary, it's a calculation. We take your income, we divide it by the mortgage payment. That's your front end debt ratio. Typically, they don't want that to be above 41%. Okay, that's stretching it. They really want it to be at 31 to 37%. Okay. The back end ratio is your income monthly divided by your mortgage payment and whatever debts that you have on your credit report. So any car loans, credit card monthly payment, personal loan, anything like that. That is your debt to income ratio. On FHA, they go up to 57%. On conventional, it's 50%. Okay. So that'll all be taken care of and done before you even hit the underwriting process. So boom. Let's say you get all the conditions cleared that the underwriter wants. That gets sent into the underwriter, and typically they want, 48, 72 hours to review everything because, you're not the only person that's trying to buy a house. Everyone's trying to buy a house, right? You need to be in line. Let's say they clear the file, right? Clear to close. A CD then will go out. A CD is a closing disclosure. Closing disclosure needs to go out 3 days prior to your closing. It is the law. So if your closing is on a Friday, your closing disclosure needs to go out on a Tuesday. Okay. That will have all of your final numbers on it. So you have enough time to go to the bank, get a certified check, or you can wire the money to the title company. Okay. Once that happens, you have to sign that, and then the clock starts ticking. The closing department will then, once it gets cleared to close, it will go into the closing department. The closing department will then reach out to title, who have all the taxes for the county, this state, just transfer tax. There's all types of different taxes, and then there's adjustments that need to be made as well. So anything that the seller paid in taxes for the year, you need to reimburse them as well. Okay, so all of that gets they go back and forth with those numbers until they come to the final number. Typically 2 days or a day before closing, you're going to get that final number, and then you go to closing. Okay. The realtor and the title company will set the closing time. You go to closing, you sign, and you get your house. Okay. I'm simplifying it a little bit, but that's kind of the way it goes. And again, if you need any more coaching on this or anything at all, you can always reach me at 484-274-7845. And what do you want in a home? That's ultimately the decision that you need to make on your own. What neighborhood do you want to be in? What school district do you want to be in? If you have kids, how many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Do you want to be in the city? Do you not want to be in the city? And just a food for thought for all my people in Reading. If you're buying in Reading School District, the closing costs are a little higher because in Reading School District, you have everyone has transfer tax when they buy a house. Just like a car, you have transfer tax. When you buy a house in the Reading School District, not Reading the city, Reading School District, whatever homes are in that zone, it is 5% transfer tax. That means that 2.5% go to the buyer, 2.5% go to the seller. Anything outside of the Reading School District is a total of 2%. 1% to the seller, 1% to the buyer. So it's a little cheaper to buy outside the city, but the taxes, the real estate taxes are cheaper in the city opposed to outside the city. So it's all different things that need to be accounted for. It's not an easy job. It can be very, very stressful at times, depending on the volume that you have. I've struggled with anxiety my entire life, but when it comes down to crunch time, if there's an issue with something or something like that, that's when I'm my most calm, and that's when I get things done. So if you come to me, just know that you are in the right place at all times. I have a whole team behind me. I have realtors out the wazoo, the most professional of the professional. You want to move fast, I got somebody that can move fast. You need some time, I got somebody that'll take time with you. It's all, you need to be comfortable in the process. And, I tell people all the time, try not to stress. It is a stressful process, but at the end of the day, buying a house is it's the biggest purchase you're ever going to make. So of course there's going to be, thoughts in your head, there's going to be doubts and stuff like that. But if you have the right person on your side, that can calm you down and kind of, just talk you through it, that's who you want to be with. That's just the general idea of buying a house for someone that's W-2'd or salary. Now, if you're self-employed, totally different animal, because I know a lot of people that are self-employed, when you do your taxes, there's a lot of write-offs. And I have a lot of people that come to me and go, oh, well, last year I filed 70,000. And then, I get their tax return and it's like, no, you claimed 70,000 and then you wrote off 50,000. So the only income that we can use is the amount that you claimed minus the amount that you wrote off, right? So if you're claiming 70, you're writing off 50, that leaves you with 20,000. You're not buying much for $20,000, right? So there are different ways around that. You can, if you're self-employed, you can do business bank statements, where if you deposit into a business bank statement, they will take 100% of the deposits over 12 months. And that's how they will come up with your 50% of the deposits, over 12 months. And that's how they will come up with your income. If you run a business, and you happen to deposit everything into your personal bank account, they will use 100% of those deposits to come up with your income. There's also, for people that don't do that at all, there's also a profit and loss loan where a tax preparer or a certified public accountant can write up a profit and loss statement for you to show your income, and that's the income you can go off of. All of those programs need 20% down. For an exception, the business and the personal bank statements, you can get 10% down. FHA, 3.5% down. Again, conventional, if you're a first-time home buyer, 3%. If you're not, it's 5%. If you're buying an investment property, there's many different options for you as well. You can buy a home with just 20% down and put it into your LLC, and you don't have to show any income at all. As long as the rental payment on the market rent covers the mortgage payment, it's a done deal. You're good to go. You can also buy a second home, which means, if you're renting Pennsylvania and you want to buy a vacation home, that's basically what a second home is, a vacation home. You want to buy a house in Tampa, Florida, or Orlando, or, somewhere down south. The Poconos even can be considered a second home. You can do that and just do 10% down. So again, there's a litany of things that you can do in the real estate world to make money. And also buying a house is just the greatest investment. You're going to make money over time just for living in a house and making a payment. Otherwise, if you're renting, you're not doing that. You're just paying rent. You're throwing money away. You're paying your landlord's mortgage. That's what you're doing. So if you have any questions or anything like that, especially when it comes to credit, I specialize in helping people with bad credit. My resume speaks for itself. I've helped hundreds upon hundreds of people with their credit, and I've helped thousands of families get into homes. You can contact me anytime at 484-274-7845. The bank that I work for, I'm a senior mortgage loan officer with East Coast Capital. I have an amazing team over there, just doing the best work. And Stony Brook Financial Group. We fix people's credit. We can also do commercial loans for you, which I can get into another podcast and explain more about that. We can do hard money loans, fix and flip, stuff like that. So I am all over the internet. Facebook, Joseph K. Schlamowitz. Instagram, Joey.Schlam. At Carl with a K, closes. We're also on TikTok, Stony Brook Financial Group, and all that. So I thank you guys for your time. Again, any questions? If you guys are looking to buy a house, looking to fix your credit, anything like that, I am the person to see in Pennsylvania. And again, we can do loans in 40 different states, and I can fix your credit in 40 different states. So I hope everyone has a great night. To my Spanish people, buenas noches. Thank you very much. And again, keep sipping your Brugal. I love you. Good night.